Hi guys, welcome to this quick video. Today we're going to talk about the basics of communication, how a message is transmitted, okay? And we're going to do that by looking at two models, what we call models of communication. So the first one is a very basic communication model called the SMCR, which stands for sender. The first S is for sender. Here we go. Who sends a message through a channel to a receiver. So SMCR, sender, message, channel, receiver. Okay, it's a very basic communication model. Basically, what it's saying is that you have a sender who chooses what message they need to send, and they send it via a channel, which is something like speech, written words, something you hear, something you can taste or touch, and you receive that information and translate it. Okay, so that's the very basics of a communications model. If you look here, you can see it explains it a bit more. The sender initiates the message. Initiates, starts, or creates. The sender decides on the purpose of the message. What am I wanting to say to somebody or get across? Do I want to inform them about something? Do I want them to persuade them to come and do something? Or do I want to instruct or tell them to do something specific? Okay, then the message must be encoded in a form that the receiver can understand, and we do that in all sorts of different ways. So we do it in forming words, like we're doing now. It can be other things, like the tone of your voice or the laughter, or how you write something down, whatever it is. Okay, you encode the message and then you send it in that specific format via a channel. So speech, touch, smell, hear, that sort of thing. All right, so let's have a look at some examples. This is just very basic. So the sender, here we have a teacher in a classroom. Okay, so that's the sender who wants to get the students in his class to do something, so he instructs them. Write this message, this information down. So that is his message. He wants the children to do something. Okay, and he uses spoken words because he's standing in the front of the classroom and the kids are all sitting there. So he uses spoken words to get them to do something. And the receiver of that information is obviously the children. Okay, the next example, Jennifer writes, "How are you, Granny?" A letter, and who receives it? Well, the destination for the letter is Granny. Granny is now reading it. Okay, so sender, message, channel, receiver. A very simple communications model. But can you see that something's happening here? It's only going in one direction, right? So you're only hearing, it's only going from the sender to the receiver. And actually, in communication, most of the time, the receiver absorbs the information and then does something else. Okay, can you think what it might be? The receiver is obviously going to give some form of feedback. So in the teacher example, the feedback that might come is that the students ask, which information, sir? Is it the information on the blackboard, or is it the information in the textbook? Okay, so the limitation with this very basic model is that it's linear, so it only goes in one direction and it doesn't allow for feedback. And in fact, for effective communication to happen, we need to have feedback. So this is called an SMCR model. It's also called a Berlo model, after the person who designed it. And the flaw in it is that it allows for no feedback. Okay, just to look at it in a little bit more detail. So the sender will be influenced by their ability to communicate. So whether they're speaking in their home language, for example, or not. might affect how that sender sends the message, on their attitude about something, their knowledge, the social system that they come from, and the cultural background that they come from. All of those things influence how the sender encodes the message. Okay, encodes means how you create it, how you send it with your unique ability to communicate. Okay, the message will be the context or the elements of it, the structure, the codes that we put into it. The channel, as I've said, involves hearing, seeing, touching, tasting, or feeling. So it might only be one of those things, or it might be a combination of those things. And then that message gets to the receiver, who now has to decode that information. And again, it will depend on the receiver's communication skills, his or her attitude, the knowledge that that person has, the social system that they come from, or the culture that they come from. So if you think about it in the workplace, say your boss needs you to get to do something, all right? Your boss needs you to create a report. So the boss is the sender, and say he is well, he's your boss, so that covers the social system, okay? He encodes his message by sending you an email, all right? And in it, he gives an instruction. And he says, you need to write this report, okay? And you, as the receiver of that, will read what he's written, okay? And you will decode it, okay? And you might say, okay, I now need to write a report on that. Or it might be that your social system might make you very nervous about getting such an instruction. And so you might panic when you get that message and go, a report on what? You know, that sort of thing. Okay, so that is how an SCMR model works. Okay, what it's leaving out, as I've said, the criticism of that is it's leaving out the feedback. In this slide, it's a slightly more advanced or build on that SCMR model. Okay, so here, and you'll find it in your textbook, this one, you get a stimulus. So the stimulus is really your idea of what you're wanting to communicate. Then your filter is based on those things that we said, your cultural background, your social position, whatever it is, all of those things that we discussed earlier. You create the message, you send it through a medium. A medium here is the same as a channel in the previous model. Okay, so is it the written word, the spoken word, some way of getting somebody to touch something, whatever it is. And the destination is the receiver. Okay, and the receiver will decode it also based on their cultural background, their age, their yeah, all the things that we discussed before. Okay, but now what is built into this model, and which makes it easier to understand, or probably a better form of a communication model, is the feedback loop. Okay, where the person who has received the information now has to translate it, understand it, and give feedback. So if we go back to our example of the employee being told to do a report, the employee might come back and say, are you meaning me to do a report on talent management, or are you needing me to do a report on how the training went for the trainees last week? Okay, so that will be their feedback asking a question. All right, guys, so these models are very important. I'm going to share a couple of videos too. You can watch those, and please do the exercise, the Google exercise that I'm going to set on this too. Okay, good luck.